Hi friends, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Obviously we are not in Brooklyn anymore. We are in Baja, Mexico. I'm here for kind of the month, just working, living and creating content, doing my thing. And I'm gonna vlog and talk more about Mexico later to come in the next couple weeks. But for this video, I thought it'd be really cool and helpful to make a video completely dedicated to PFF, which stands for protein, fats, and fibrous carbs. That is what we teach in Petite Power, which is the program, our 12-week transformation program for petite women. It's what I preach or teach on Instagram around here. And I thought it'd be good to have one video where I show you what it is, how to do it, how you follow a PFF-based meal plan, how you can build that out for yourself. And typically, eating in this way is a really healthy, science-backed way to make sure that you are balancing your blood sugars, you're keeping your body in fat burning mode, you're getting enough protein to build muscle, and ultimately, all of these things are going to help you achieve a body recomposition where you lose fat and build muscle over time. So let's break down this video, and if you already like this video, if you're interested in nutrition as a petite woman, you wanna just eat a little healthier, lose some fat, learn some tools to do so, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content tailored to petite women, and let's do it. Okay, so let's start with the simplest question here. What is PFF? Again, it stands for protein, fats, and fibrous carbs. Your protein are gonna be the essential building blocks of muscle. It's your amino acids, and protein are in things like your meat, your eggs, at least the egg whites. The yolk is actually more like a fat, it is fat. It's gonna be, protein is in like your nuts and seeds as well as some fats, but protein is essentially coming from mostly dairy or meat. There's also vegan, lots of vegan options now. It's in a lot of plant-based foods as well. Spinach is high in protein, beans have protein. Those are some examples. You can also get protein from non-whole sources of food, like protein powder, which would be a supplement. You can get those vegan, vegetarian, whatever. There's animal protein, whey protein, and then there's plant-based proteins like pea protein or a bunch of other ones. So either way, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can get enough protein. It just comes down to understanding which foods are protein and which are not, and making sure you get enough of them in your diet. So next up, fat. Fats are not the same as body fat. This is dietary fat, and you could find healthy fats in salmon, avocado, seeds and nuts, olive oil, these types of things. And your fats are really important for your hormones, for your overall health, for energy. And I should have said this before, protein has 4 calories per gram of protein, and fats have 9 calories per gram of fat, which makes them higher in calories than protein or carbohydrate. And finally, we have our fibrous carbs. Now, really quick, the reason why we call them fibrous carbs instead of carbs, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. Carbs are really important, and in PFF, you absolutely can eat your starchy carbs, you can eat your simple carbs, you can have your fibrous carbs. Essentially, a carbohydrate, just in terms of what a carbohydrate is, it's when it's broken down in your bloodstream, it breaks down as sugar. Your carbs are anything from bread to pastas to complex carbs like your starches, your quinoa, your rice, your potatoes. Lots of vegetables are carbs, even green vegetables are carbs like, sweet peppers and tomatoes. Fruit is a carb. A lot of foods fall into the carb category, and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates. So they're the same as protein in terms of calorie content. Now, fiber is a type of carbohydrate that is not actually digested in the human body. It just goes through our system. It helps with digestion, it helps bulk up your poo, it helps do a lot of things, regulate, and it also keeps you full and satiated. Fiber is usually found in carbohydrates such as sprouted breads like Ezekiel breads. It can be found in certain grains. It's also found in fruits and vegetables. And then randomly, avocados tend to be really high in fiber. But essentially, we're looking at like berries are really high in fiber, chia seeds, which are predominantly fat, also high in fiber. And then there's also supplemental fiber, like acacia fiber, kind of the same idea as protein powder, but it's fiber powder. I would say protein powder is fine, but I'm not a huge fan of fiber supplements because getting it from whole sources of food is gonna yield much better results in the long run. So when we string these all together, it's PFF, and it stands for protein, fats, and fibrous carbs. You absolutely can have all the carbs you want, but when you can, you wanna try to aim to get those carbs to be high in fiber. Now, the way that you do PFF is really simple. It's literally just means eat a protein, a fat, and a fibrous carb in every single meal. And having the combination of all those 3 main macronutrients in one meal is going to keep you full, satiated. It's going to shut down your sugar cravings. It's going to help you burn fat. It's going to help increase your metabolism. It's going to do all the good stuff, okay? And it really is that simple. Really just putting those 3 together in a meal is going to make all the difference. One of the troubles, and I think where people get stuck, is just not knowing what a protein is, what a fiber is, what a fat is, and then, okay, that's over. And then not knowing how to build a meal because you're not sure what is what. So this really has to start with awareness. And in my opinion, the best way to get started learning what your macronutrients are is by tracking your food for a few days. I don't mean for the rest of your life. We're going to talk about tracking in a second as well. I just mean literally keep a food diary. You can write it down if you want. But honestly, if you use the My Macros app, which I'll show you here, I love this one, or you use MyFitnessPal, also a good option, it's going to tell you which foods are a what. And this is something way back in the day when I got into macros that I didn't understand. Foods are usually predominantly one thing, but a lot of them tend to have a mix of the macronutrients in them. So if you take a look at an almond, it's mostly considered a fat. Like if you Googled what macronutrient is an almond, or however you phrase it, it would probably say just fat. However, when you look at the nutritional breakdown of almonds, there's also a little bit of protein in them and a minuscule amount of carbohydrates. So really these macronutrients make up all of our food. They make up all the calories in our food because there are calories in each gram of each one. But each food group, or each food rather, individual food, is predominantly a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate when you break it down and you look at it. Now, the only other group of food that exists that has its own category is alcohol, and it's considered an empty food group, so I'm not even gonna get into that. But as far as all the calories you eat in your day, anything you eat is either gonna be a protein, a fat, or a carb. Okay, so once you keep a 3-day food diary, this is going to be a time, by the way, not to analyze what you're eating or judge yourself or change the way you eat because you're tracking. Don't do that. Try to clear your mind. This is a moment for you to just write down what you're eating so that you can get a really good picture of what are you putting in your body, going through your day, not thinking about it, so that you can become aware and think more about it, learn more about your food and your nutrients, and then make better choices. Once you do that process, it becomes automatic later. It's just in the upfront when we have to increase our awareness to learn about the food we're eating. So when I was getting started, what I found helped me so much is I would just randomly track food throughout the day. It was casual. It wasn't a very aggressive thing at first. I would just, track a meal I ate. I put together a turkey sandwich in college or something, and I would put the bread in, and I would put the whatever, the cheese, the eggs, and I would see, oh, okay, this meal I made had only 10 grams of protein. It had 30 grams of fat, which is, you'll learn, is a lot for petite women in one meal. And it had, 40 grams of carbs, which is fine. And at first, you're not gonna know what the numbers mean, but you have to start somewhere. And it's gonna help you learn, okay, this bread is pretty high in fiber. It has 3 to 4 grams of fiber in a slice. That's pretty good, especially if for fiber you're aiming for about 30 a day. And we'll go over the daily goals in a second. But just get yourself situated and aware of what foods am I eating? What group do they fall into? What macronutrient are these foods? Is this a protein? Is this a protein? Is this a fat? Is this a carb? Just learn about the foods that you're eating and where they kind of fit. That's gonna be the key to giving you food freedom so that you can better make meals on the fly that are balanced and fit your goals and are gonna help you lose fat in the long run. Okay, so after you make your food diary and you have it and you're in analytical mode, now you're looking at it and you're breaking it down, you're seeing like, what did I eat in a day? You're gonna see that all your macronutrients also add up to a total daily calorie goal. Now, calories matter. I'm never gonna say calories don't matter, but the composition of your diet matters a lot as a petite, because here's why. If you eat 1,500 calories of carbohydrates, no protein, no fats, your body composition is going to look drastically different than someone who's eating 1,500 calories of balanced PFF meals, enough protein, enough fats, and enough carbohydrates. The person who eats only carbs is likely going to look skinny fat, only saying this because if you don't have enough protein to build muscle, you won't. Carbohydrates are also important for building muscle, by the way, but you need the protein there too. If you just eat carbs alone, like I said, when you eat a carb and it enters your bloodstream, we break it down into sugar. What happens is your blood sugar level increases. And now a hormone called insulin is released by the body to bring the blood sugar down back to a stable level. However, if you have a high hit of the carbs and they're not balanced with a protein and a fat to slow down the digestion of that carb, your blood sugar levels are going to spike really high, and then your insulin is going to spike really, really high, and then it's going to wash all the sugar out of your bloodstream, and it's going to leave you shaky and hungry again. That is what happens when you eat carbs naked. That's what I call it. So carbs are great. You can eat as many of them as you want, but I mean, within reason of your goals, right? But you need to make sure that you're not eating them naked. You want to pad the carbs with protein and a fat so that you slow down the absorption and you keep your insulin levels lower rather. And the reason why you want to keep your blood sugar levels and your insulin levels more moderate, like you want them to be like rolling hills rather than high peaks and valleys like a roller coaster, is because insulin is a fat storing hormone. Where do you think it's taking all that sugar from your bloodstream when it removes it? It's literally going to take it and put it in your body. It's going to start storing it. We don't want that. We want you to be able to leave the sugar in your bloodstream like a slow release, you could think of it as, and be using it and burning it throughout the day so that you have sustained energy levels. Your mood is good. Sorry, there's bugs everywhere. You're able to like not feel hungry all the time. And this is such a key component to understanding why carbs have gotten a bad rap. They're not bad, it's just that the way we consume them is not making the most of them. It's not like appreciating a carb, you know? You gotta appreciate the carbohydrates, you know what I'm saying? So if you wanna respect your carbs, you wanna eat them, make sure you eat them with a protein and a fat. And that is essentially what makes PFF meals so powerful, is eating them all together is going to really optimize your absorption of that food. It's going to slow down the digestion of the food so that you stay fuller longer. If you are, on one reason why these diets don't work is because if you're eating high carbs, you're not balancing the meals right. Like even if you're eating low carbs, but you're eating them naked, you're going to get to a point where you're hungry all the time, not only because you're not eating a lot of calories, but because the calories that you're eating, they're not being balanced properly. And that's going to lead to you being hungry more often. And it's also going to lead to changes in your appetite hormones, your leptin, your ghrelin. You've probably heard those before. So if you want to balance all your hormones in terms of your appetite regulators, the hormones in your body that say, I'm full, I'm satiated, or I'm hungry, then you got to balance your meals PFF, because it's going to stabilize everything and make your fat loss goals so much easier. So what do you do once you have your journal? You've learned about protein and fats and fibrous carbs. Next, you kind of got to understand what is the general amounts of things, right? Like what's right for me, what's right for petite women, if we're talking in the context of this channel. And essentially, this is what I recommend. For petite women, I would opt for about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight if you are strength training. Yes, this is a slightly higher recommendation than the general average daily person who does not work out. That's because they're not trying to build muscle and they're not exercising. For someone who is exercising, someone who is trying to build muscle and lean out, a slightly higher protein intake is very safe and also really important. And that is why it's gonna be 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So for example, if you were say 135 pounds, you would aim to eat 135 grams of protein. And if you're over 135 pounds, I would suggest as a petite woman capping your protein there, even if you weigh more, because you need to allocate and leave room for other calories to go to your fats and your carbohydrates, okay? So for example, if you're eating a 1,500 calorie diet, that is gonna be distributed among your 3 macronutrient groups. And if you have 135 grams of protein, you need to leave other calories to go to your carbs and your fats. Okay, next up, how much fiber should you be getting in a day? So carbohydrates in general are going to vary. Fiber, you don't need a ton of fiber in a day. You only need about 30 grams a day is the recommended intake for women. And you could also do 25 to 35. It's in that range. And that is not total carbs. Total carbs might be very different depending on so many things. Depending on where you're starting out, depending on what your goals are. It could be anywhere from, 120 would be low, just to give you ballparks. 300 grams of carbs would be very high for a petite woman. So, but it should be probably over 100 grams of carbs generally speaking. Again, general guidelines. I'm just trying to give you a general education on like what the ballpark numbers are, but you're going to also need to tailor them to where you're at based on your food journal. And then fats. For petite women, it really does also vary. Fats you're gonna see on the low end, about 40 grams a day, that's low-ish. On the high end, 100 grams, I mean, that would be around there, but I'm giving you guys big ranges, okay? Because everybody's different and you really, really need to figure out what's right for you. And when I say figure out, I mean, start with your maintenance calories. So look at your food journal, see how many calories are there, start with where you're at, get your protein up, and then you can allocate the rest to your fats and your carbs. But some people do better on carbs and lower fats, and some people do better on higher fats, lower carbs. Now, the benefits to having a coach, and this is why we run Petite Power, is someone breaks this all down for you and works for you on this and gives you the numbers and gives you a starting place. But if you're doing it alone, you absolutely can do it alone. I learned it alone before I had any of my certifications. It's just gonna take some patience and excitement around learning something new. So when it comes to following a PFF-based meal plan, if you are wondering how that looks like, how that works and what it looks like, you can download my free meal plan. It's a PFF guide. It's like a 40-page free guide for petite women, and it has a meal plan in it with tons of recipes. Totally free right here. I'll put it on the screen, also in the description below. And this guide is just gonna give you a plan. It's pretty great, honestly, but more importantly, it's gonna teach you what PFF is so you can understand how to do it yourself. The beauty of PFF eating is that it applies to any cuisine in the world. Whatever you grew up eating in your family, whatever cultural food, like background or foods you're comfortable eating, every food breaks down into a protein, a fat, or a fiber or carb, and you can absolutely, once you learn them, change your portion sizes so that you can eat the foods you love, and you don't have to ditch those for like whatever you think is healthy. Like, you can make the foods that you're eating work. You just need to know which is a protein, fat, and a carb, and then understand the portions and also balance them in a meal. Now, the other question I get a lot about PFF eating is, am I tracking forever? Like, that's not sustainable. I don't like numbers. There's a huge bee on my foot. And no, you don't have to track forever. The way that I like to teach macro-based eating, which we call it PFF, is they're not exactly the same, but they're related, is to use the initial tracking as a learning experience, as an opportunity to improve your awareness, because all behavioral change starts with awareness. Use that as a springboard to then transition into intuitive eating. I'll give you an example. I'm here in Mexico. I don't have like all the normal setup I have. I'm not weighing my food. I'm not tracking my meals. So how am I maintaining my goals or even achieving my goals while I'm here? Because I've trained my eye to know my portion sizes. I know what every food in our kitchen is. I know if it's a protein, a fat, or a carb. I can throw together a healthy meal that hits my goals very quickly because I have spent the week or so years ago just learning what's in my food. This is going to take you so far in life and help you so much, because your fat loss goals come down to mostly nutrition as well as building muscle as a petite so you can increase your metabolism. So you really got to prioritize your education around your nutrition and feel confident about what foods make you feel good and help you reach your goals. I am gonna film a bunch of more content while I'm here, and I'd be happy to film a what I eat in the day video, especially because I'm not tracking right now, so that you guys can get an idea of how I'm building it out. Also, please feel free to download my free guide. It's literally just a free meal plan, and it teaches you exactly what I'm talking about, but you can see like real examples and really learn. And I'm curious what questions you have about PFF, so let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, if you found it helpful, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more content tailored to petite women, and I will see you guys next week. Also, huge shout out to all of the women who joined the February session of Petite Power. We are so excited for your first week that you had, and we also run these sessions monthly, so if you wanted to get in March, you can absolutely visit our website, book a call, whatever you want to do. But anyways, I'll answer your questions below, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Bye.